this is another great place, I think, for sports analogies, right? What do competing football teams in high school do? They watch the tape of their upcoming match, like whoever they're playing against, they watch their tape from the previous week.
In detail over and over again. Yeah.
To learn and then they create plays that counter the plays that they know and they see in the tape.
Yes.
Right? So the idea of learning from your enemy is not new to us.
Yeah.
We've been doing it for a long time. If you look at how the Spartans developed weapons, how the Greeks developed weapons, how Aborigines developed weapons, they developed weapons to counter the weapons that were being used against them. Right? What did we do in the space race? What did we do in the nuclear race? Why are we constantly developing new weapons ourselves? What's happening in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Right? In Ukraine, we're launching completely new types of weapons. The Ukrainians are innovating new weapons to combat the weapons that are on the battlefield. And you're seeing how that wins, how that works, right? So we are still learning from our enemies to a certain extent. The Ukraine war is a fantastic example of where the American DOD, the American military, gets to watch the Russian military kill Ukrainians with American weapons, countering them. So we get to see how our weapons do in the field without risking American lives. And we get to see what Russian tactics are employed in the field without risking American lives. So there's a lot of net benefit to the United States supporting a conflict in Ukraine, right? And we've got to remember that. We're not there because it's just ideological. There is an ROI, but we don't want to talk about what that ROI is.
Right.
So we are to some extent learning, but then there's so many other places where we stop learning, and we stop learning partially because of like pride,
arrogance,
because we think we're the best. We don't need to learn about how, Brazil is handling sugar crops. We don't have to learn about this. We don't need to worry about, what's happening with the election in Taiwan or in Thailand right now.
Right.
We don't care. It's beneath us. So when something is beneath you and you don't even bother learning from it, you lose the opportunity to learn. But then we also have this thing where we don't learn because we think it's against our ethics or our morals, right? So a fantastic example here is terrorists. Terrorists thrived for a long time by creating cells, terrorist cell networks that were embedded in a local population and just didn't act. They were asleep, right? 3, 5, 12 years. They built a life in London or New York or Boston, wherever, right? And then one day they were activated. To have a 12-year operation like that goes completely against anything we do in the United States because we only have a 5-year budget cycle. So how could we possibly fund an operation for 12 years, right? And then we've got compartmentation.
Yeah.
So when we approve a long-term mission, it has to go through multiple offices that are all need-to-know offices for that operation.
Yeah.
And then you've got people who change positions, right? People who get promoted, fired, or moved to different offices. So now you can't control the secret. So you have China using long-term seeding operations against the United States. You got Russians planting illegals in the United States. You have all sorts of intelligence operations, influence operations, hacking operations that are being executed against us by our opponents that we look at the way they're doing it and we tell ourselves ideologically, well, that's immoral. So we're not going to adopt that practice, right? It's the terrorism, the torture argument is a fantastic example of it, right?
We call it enhanced interrogation, right?
And when we're kidnapped by a terrorist organization, are we enhancedly interrogated?
Yeah.
No, we are straight up tortured, and then we're killed.
Yeah.
So when we capture a terrorist, somehow now it's unethical for us to slap that person in the belly or deny them dinner. How are we going to reprimand the men and women that we've charged with protecting us? We're going to try and govern how they handle a terrorist. And we're going to ridicule them and end their careers and potentially put them in jail when the other side is not extending the same grace to us. All we're doing is losing an opportunity ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Now, to a certain extent, we get to claim in 10 years down the road, well, we took the moral high ground and we are better for it. I would say we took the moral high ground and we have lost more lives for it.
Yeah.
So as long as you're willing to as long as some politician can stand up on a pedestal and say, yeah, we killed 25 people being on the ethical high ground. We killed 25 Americans being on the ethical high ground and not torturing terrorists. But hey guys, I'm really proud of us. Right? I would much rather have that person stand up and be like, we tortured the hell out of some terrorists. We saved a lot of American lives.
Yeah.
because I don't see all lives as equal.
Right.
American lives come first in my eyes.
Okay.
And if that makes me a bad person, that makes me a bad person.
Oh, it makes you patriotic, I think, at least. Is this just because as you're saying that, I'm reflecting on even when we tell stories in our personal lives, right? Was that saying that there's 3 sides to every story, his side, her side, and the truth? That we're always, maybe even unconsciously, bending the story to suit our interest to some extent, right? Depending on who we're telling, when we're telling it, what the purpose of that conversation is. Like, we're going to emphasize certain aspects of the event and de-emphasize others. Is this just part of like the human condition too, that we can't help but bend? Well, we have to tell stories, as we've established. The story is never going to be a perfect representation of reality, so we're always just going to use that wiggle room to kind of bend it to our advantage, even if it's unconscious.
What we're talking about here isn't really about bending the truth. It's about the human need for connection, right? We are a tribal animal. We're a pack animal. Yeah. Yes, you're right that we're more than just animals. We also have a spiritual element and, a philosophical element, but we are still some portion of animal. And without a community, without a pack, we know we will die. And that's why loneliness is such a problem for humans, and especially for Americans, right? So when I choose to share a story with you, or when you choose to share a story with me, or we share a story with our audience, we are inherently shaping the story to justify our actions so that we will be accepted, because we want to be accepted into a community so that we belong to something. That's the his side and her side, right? His side is telling his story because he wants to be accepted by the other hises and he's listening, right? She's telling a story from her point of view so she can be accepted by all the other she's hearing the story. And then you're right, there's the cold hard truth. What's really fascinating is that the truth is that just telling the truth will build a community on its own, because that's what so few people get and what most people are looking for. So what I really respect about what you're doing is that you are telling the truth as you know it, as you've studied it, as you've seen it, as you've practiced it, as you live it, right? That is the truth. It's not your slant. It's not your bias. If anything, your bookshelves are full of books that demonstrate your willingness to try to break yourself out of your personal bias. You are trying to create the truth because that's what you want. And then you're attracting people who want the truth along with you. I can back someone like that all day long, because there's enough people out there twisting the truth to try to glorify themselves.
I appreciate you saying that. And I think I am trying to do that, but also running into my own limitations, like still finding myself like not exactly saying it the way I meant to say it, and it's often when you're kind of caught off guard, I found it's like, oh, someone asks you a thing, you like say it real quick, and then you might reflect on it later and be like, wow, I could have said that differently. I de-emphasized something or emphasized something that was for a reason. And so like you detect, I don't know, it's weird when you're constantly trying to step outside of yourself and then reevaluate how you acted in a situation. I still find myself just being biased, right? Doing all the things that we're all prone to.
And that's exactly right. We're prone to it. You're prone to it and I'm prone to it. The difference is trained people, and you are kind of self-trained here. Trained people become aware of that bias. Untrained people are completely blind to their own bias.
And this kind of perhaps ties into the thing I was sharing earlier, where it's human history is like one psyop after another. I mean, you could maybe think of these as little mini psyops in a way, right? I'm thinking when you start to, if we're using his side, her side, and the truth, when he and her start to date, typically the first few dates, both he and her are putting their best foot forward. They're trying to emphasize their qualities and attributes, their positive attributes, and de-emphasize their problems and their childhood traumas and all that. So is that it? Like, we're always by necessity playing pretend a little bit, and we're competing in a way too, right? Like trying to get the best mate or get the best job or the best deal, whatever it is. So we're always using that little bit of separation between the cold hard truth and the narrative to try and wiggle that space to our advantage in a way. And maybe the aggregate outcome of that are these psyops that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that your example isn't inaccurate. For sure, there's that wiggle room that we're using because we're seeking acceptance. His and hers is a fantastic example. When we date, we're looking for acceptance. We want to be accepted into each other's good graces. We want to be accepted into each other's lives. We want to be accepted into each other's beds, right? There's a lot of acceptance going on. The other thing that comes to my mind when you talk about this is that we're taught at the agency that everybody has 3 lives, right? 3 lives. There's a public life, a private life, and a secret life. The public life is the life that you're talking about right now. We emphasize our strengths. We obfuscate our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities. We try to make ourselves look stronger than we are, more courageous than we are, smarter than we are, so that we will be accepted, because that's the persona we want to project to others. It's something that we do unconsciously. It's something that we're conditioned to do from childhood because that's just the way human beings connect and collaborate, right? We want to look attractive to others. So that's all of our public life. Everybody who's a friend, everybody who's an associate, everybody who's a professional connection, they're all part of your public life. But then you have a private life too. Now your private life is for a much smaller group of people, right? Intimate friends, intimate family. If in your public life, people think that you're super smart, in your private life, they know that your breath actually smells. They know that you're lactose intolerant, right? They know that you have a weird patch of hair that grows on your lower back, right? Your intimate family, your kids, your wife, your, whatever, your parents, they know that about you. But that's okay because they're part of your private life. Right. They can see through the public life and they know who you really are in private. But then we still have a third life, a secret life. And inside that secret life, we may never let anyone in. We may only let 1 or 2 people in. In that secret life is where our shame lives. It's where our guilt lives. It's where those secrets live.
Insecurities.
The things that you and I have done, that we know we've done, that we've never told anybody ever. And there's many more of those secrets than any of us have ever cared to remember. Right? Even as we say this, I know they're
coming up.
Right? If you tell somebody one of those secrets, you're letting them into your secret life. Now, what CIA tells us is so powerful about this is that once you let someone into your secret life, you never let them out. So you can move someone from public life into private life, and if they disappoint you or let you down, you can move them back to public life, right? They go back and forth. But when you move someone from private life to secret life and you share that level of vulnerability with them, even if you're mad at them, disappointed by them, don't trust them, you never really let them out of your secret life. So espionage is a game of getting people to let you into their secret life.
Wow.
Because then you gain all the leverage. You gain all the power. You know that they've been cheating on their wife since they were married 3 years. You know that they have 2 illegitimate kids. You know that they're secretly addicted to cocaine. You know that they love child pornography. You know, whatever it is. You know their secrets in their secret life. And they can't help but trust you because you are the only other person carrying the burden of those secrets.
Wow.
Right? And when someone else carries the burden of your secrets, you're intrinsically connected to them.
And that's why you can't remove them.
Because their loyalty to you is unending.
Wow. And then once you have gained access to their secret life, you have the dirt on them. Presumably that's a very high leverage possession or control mechanism, right?
We call it coercion.
Coercion, yeah.
It's a tool called coercion. Now, coercion is the weakest of all tools to use, which is why when you get the dirt, the most valuable thing to understand is that you never want to exploit the dirt. What you always want to do is sell them the hope behind the dirt, right? Like, I know you've got a problem with opioids. I know you're addicted to opioids. And I know you've been hiding it from the whole world. And one day, together, we're going to get you past it. But today, you need to perform, and you need your opioid today, right? So today, I need you to go and have this meeting and get this secret and come back and bring it to me so that we can change the world. And we're not going to do that if we start cleaning you up today.
So is that part of the espionage game then? Is to get into their secret world, know that weak point or point of high leverage, and then you just press that point to inspire the behaviors that suit your interest or your boss's interest, I guess.
That's not part of the game. That is
the game.
That is what makes a spy worth the $2.5 million of training that they get.
Wow.
To learn how to do that systematically and predictably with any culture, any gender, any age, any level of education.
That's incredible. Well, that sounds like some cool schooling too.
It's super cool schooling, and it's a great tool to have. And it serves in business and in the commercial world too, because people still have secret lives.
Yeah.
And when a client lets you into their secret life for any reason, their secret fears or shame or guilt about their business, or their shame or their fears about failing their family, when they let you in, when you can help them through that, when you can make them stronger, when you can make them more courageous, they love you for it. And you're improving the productivity of them and their business that they're own, and the business they're part of, and the country that you're in, and the legacy that you're leaving.
I was just going to say, because to gain access to someone's secret life also sounds like deep best friendship or something you'd want with your significant other. So it's weird that the game of espionage is to gain access to that secret life, but that's also the game of love, right? Between friends or between romantic partners, that you want to have someone that you can divulge or invite into that secret life and be invited into their secret life.
Right. You want it, but at the same time, if we're being honest with each other, we kind of don't. Right? When I sit across from my wife and she's having a hard day, I love my wife. I don't really want to be part of that. Right? She's got all sorts of secret life drama going on. She's got stuff coming up from her childhood. She's got, grief from her grandmother dying, and she's got guilt about being a mom. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm really comfortable in the private life where I know you have guilt and grief and shame and fear, but I really don't want to be part of it right now. Right? And that's really what the game of love tends to be. And that's why we have a crazy 52% divorce rate or something like that, right? Because we don't really actually want anyone in our secret life. And we really don't want to put the investment into being part of somebody else's secret life.
So then
because the ROI isn't there.
Right.
So fresh on me.